What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Experience More podcast. This is the podcast where we dive into experiencing more of the great outdoors and life with those you love to experience it with. There's different episodes within this podcast. There is different product episodes where I might dive into different tips, tricks, as I like to call them, nuggets of information or tools that have helped me experience more of the great outdoors, whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, any of that different stuff. Zero bullshit across the board. We just want to hit it home with everyone here. Outside of that, I'm going to have guest interview episodes within the podcast. And then what I like to call them is the solo cast, right? Where it's you and I just having a conversation. A lot of these solo casts are really hitting home on something that is either going on in my life or has happened in my life, personal experiences, and really ultimately just like a story, right? Throughout all of it. Like I am no better than any one of you guys ultimately listening to this podcast. Put my pants on the exact same way that each and every one of you guys do. Born and raised Central Wisconsin. I'm just a farm kid, dyslexic, homeschool. Like you could chalk up so many different things to where really you might listen to me here. You might see or listen to the podcast, whether you're on YouTube or streaming in from Spotify, Apple, any of those platforms, and think, who the heck is this guy? I'm a normal dude, I'm a regular dude, just like you guys. I love to hunt. I love to get outdoors. I love to experience that lifestyle with other friends and family. And as a dyslexic individual who was not keen on reading and writing, or it's not necessarily the strongest suit I've ever had in my life, I fell into podcasting and found out that I really thoroughly enjoy it. And I love telling other people's stories. I love taking the experiences I've gained, the knowledge I've gained from really rubbing shoulders and sharing campfires, sharing experiences with other people. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, right, we all have a friggin' date on our time card, right? In life, all of us will be gone at one point in time. And it really truly comes down to the experiences we have while we are here. It comes down to the experiences we share while we are here. It comes down to the legacy we are able to leave. And the legacy really truly is the experiences that are had, right, while we are here for the small, short duration of time that we really are. So that is kind of just a gist of the podcast. And for those of you guys who are maybe new tuning in, just get an idea of what it's all about. And today is a solo cast. I'm going to hit really on something that has been tugging at my heart to hit on, because I battle with it just as much as anyone else does, or a battle with like the imposter syndrome, or, this idea of, not being good enough for the calling you are called to progress in, right? Because we all have that. We all have an internal gut or like a compass inside of us that drags us towards, or really directs us towards where we want to go. But there's so many different scenarios that happen in life that make us lose our true north, or where we are trying to head. I kind of look at it as, the mountains like to play games on us. And when you're traveling through the woods at night or something like that, like there's so many different scenarios that happen when you're out in the backcountry or out in the middle of nowhere. And if you've been out there for any bit of time, like you have this gut sense inside of yourself, like knowing exactly where to go. But then like these little thoughts pop into your mind and they can pull you off course. Right. So we all have that internal compass. And this episode is really going to be gauged towards, hey, follow that gut feeling. The gut is usually not wrong. Follow that internal compass and keep pushing towards that. Like it's no different than any adventure you've ever been on. Like the destination you're ultimately looking to achieve or get to is going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. You're going to be faced with adversity, but you have to keep going if you ultimately want to get to a spot where majority of people will not get. With that being said, we're going to jump into this, but for those of you guys new, that's what it's about. For those of you guys who've been here before, hey, go out, share the show. Appreciate those of you guys who have gone through, left a review. It helps us spread this out more for other individuals to be able to experience it with, or more experience the show with, right? So yeah, let's dive into it. How do I want to start this? Let's see. And then you guys will learn too. Like I really just shoot it from the hip. I'm not like a scripted out individual. Even when I do the other podcasts with guests and that, like it's just wholeheartedly a real conversation. So this one, I want to really hit on the fact of follow that true north, follow that gut feeling. And, I want you guys to think, like, have you ever had anyone screw you over? Like, have you ever had anyone, I don't want to say screw you over. Yeah, we'll use that. We'll say screw you over, who, they have used you. They have abused you. They, see the potential that you have, and they use all of the potential that you ultimately have and that you provide, right? And you feel used. You feel like, maybe they're not. You hope that there are things that'll come to fruition, and you need to keep moving forward. And ultimately, in that sense, right, of moving forward, and I promise you this will make sense here as I continue further into it, you become more burned out. You become more leery of going in the direction, or better yet, it adds self-doubt, plants these little seeds of doubt in your brain of if you are on the correct path, right? I want to be here to share with you that and let you know, like, you're on the right fucking path. Follow that gut feeling, right? And there is no truer statement in many different facets. Like, they say, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, right? And I really don't have enemies. Like, I don't think of people as enemies or anything like that. I believe in good and bad. Like, people know the difference between right and wrong. But I want to encourage each and every one of you guys to keep following that true north, no matter what shit happens, no matter what anyone says on the outside, on the external, no matter where you are going in life, you have this internal compass and these wants and these goals and these aspirations to do bigger, greater, grander things. Keep going. Keep going. Don't let them slow you down. Don't let them stop you, because if you have all this piss and vinegar inside of you to go out and make some things happen, like, you guys think about it, think of the gym, right? Like, it's that day one mentality of you're here, you start a new meal plan, you're all in. Day one mentality, you're checking like all the boxes, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, right? You are all in with that day one mentality. Well, you got to be consistent with that day one mentality, right? Same thing on day one of the gym. You're working out. It's all in. Like, you're busting balls to go out and make things happen. Keep that consistency. And I want to change intensity with consistency, because really what you are wanting to do and where you are wanting to go is going to take more consistency than it is ultimately an intensity. You can't be 100% every single day. But if you show up, and maybe like in the workout sense, if you just show up every single day, work out, maybe it's a 30-minute walk, right? Maybe it's a 5-10 minute EMOM, or, just a little quick hit. Who knows? Maybe you go down and you just do a handful of push-ups, sit-ups, squats, whatever it is, right? But you doing something in that day is better than just chalking it up as a loss for the day and getting back to it, right? And I say all of this because you, as you are, maybe it comes to social, because I get asked a lot about like social media and being consistent in social media and putting things out, and just playing, like, not worrying about what the fuck people think, right? But just being consistent. My growth in my own platforms, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, any of it, like, I look at it, it's like, well, if I put out one video and one video gets 100 likes or 300 views versus 13,000 views or 1 million views or whatever it is. But if out of, like, you think of that room, right? If you put your social media out there and look at it as like, oh, maybe I had 10, 15 views today on my stories, or, 50,000 views, whatever it is, you think about it, like, that's still an audience. Someone followed you, someone watched you today. And if you think about it, like, social media, we get so desensitized by that, and we think it has to be these huge grandiose numbers, to where, like, really you going out there and just showing up today, even if it's one person who saw what you're doing today, whether that was working out, whether that was moving towards your goal, your vision, your passions, right? One person saw you today, and that's like having a room of 10, 15 people. They chose to watch you. Right? I think maybe, there could be a few thousand individuals going through and listening to this podcast. I want you to know, like, I don't take that shit for granted, right? I don't care if there's 5 people on the other side of this podcast listening, whether it's 5, 500, 5,000, 5 million. Like, at the end of the day, you just have to keep moving forward, because the impact can be real, right? The power of influence is just showing up, right? It's being the individual that you said you were ultimately going to be, right? And doing it in the sense of that cliche saying of like doing the things when no one else is watching, right? Like just putting it out there is huge, because desensitized from social media is you look at that and you're like, oh, 50 people saw my story today, or 300 people saw my post, and all these people get so tore up about it and they're worried about their following count. Well, if you had one person follow you on a YouTube short or an Instagram reel, maybe someone followed you. That's one person who chose to follow you out of all the millions of other individuals out there. That's a win, right? 15 people watch your story today. 5 people watch your story today. That's 5 individuals who chose to watch you today because the actions you're taking, right? Not the other way around. Like you are out there producing when other people are following and watching, right? And all of you guys, if you're listening to this podcast, all of you have influence. The greatest influence is the friends and family around you, right? They're the individuals who are your left and right. They're your wife, your spouse. They are your kids, your nieces, your nephews, your aunts, your uncles, your parents. Like you have the ability to go through and create an impact in those individuals' lives. And I promise you, and this is where I've had to come back, because I get caught in that same kind of trap of like, oh, I need better views. I need to do X, Y, and Z. But I know wholeheartedly, if I can go out and just create an impact within my family, that's a big reason why I even started social media. Like I knew I wasn't living close to my family and friends. It's like, I really just wanted to be a badass uncle for my niece and nephews, right? And then have my daughter. It's like, I just want to be able to create this digital scrapbook, right? Of like, if I was gone tomorrow, she'd be able to look back at the stories that I put out via Instagram, via the YouTube side of things, via podcasts. Like this is a digital scrapbook. It's the 21st century. It's a scrapbook. This is not something that, I have to go through and do. It's something I want to be able to do, because at the end of the day, I don't know what tomorrow brings. And I want to make sure if someone is going to go through and influence my daughter, influence my family, influence my niece and nephews, the individuals that I care the most about, I want to be able, even though I'm not right there to their left and right at all times, or might not be there in the future, right? Like this is a way that they can come and see, what was Uncle Jake about? What was Dad about? Right? What was his thought process, his morals, his beliefs? Like, what did he want to go out there and do? What was the aspirations he had? And each and every one of you guys, like with social media, you have the tools to go out there and do that. You're able to share your stories, right? And share other people's stories, share the losses, share the wins, and consistently just keep showing up, because at the end of the day, we're all not that different. Your superhero, the individuals you look up to the most, they are no different than you. I have been fortunate enough to be surrounded by a lot of great human beings, a lot of very, very successful, very highly achieved individuals throughout my life over the last, really over the last decade. Right. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to see how they operate and what they do on a consistent basis, literally in front of the screen, behind the screen. Like it doesn't matter. They are no different than you. They are human. They struggle with the same things. They have the same kind of wins and losses. They're just further down the line than you ultimately are. And at the end of the day, they show up consistently. And the more consistent you show up, not just on social media, but in your relationships, the more consistent you show up in your physical abilities, the more you show up in your business, in your work, the more you show up, the better you get at having a consistent effort moving forward. And with consistency comes applied intensity that can come with it, to where when you get into those moments where you hit a brick wall and you can just push through that shit. When you have moments that ultimately set you back and would break other individuals, well, because you've been consistent so much with it, you just show up. And it might be just taking a couple steps forward. It might be standing still and not moving backwards. That's still moving forwards in some sorts, right? But I want you guys to really think about that. Think about the people you look up to. Think of the superheroes in your life. Think of the individuals that have created the biggest impact in your life. Well, you've probably followed suit on what they've ultimately done, and it's been based on consistency and that applied pressure moving forward to always just work to get a little bit better, create a little bit more impact moving forward, right? And I wrap this back to the beginning of the podcast, like you're going to have individuals in your life, right, that you maybe you looked up to. Maybe they were your best friends. Maybe they were your closest, maybe they were relatives, right? Maybe they were like business partners, maybe whatever and whoever they are, right? There comes a point in time where you will find a friction point to where you might have now just outgrown that relationship or that place where you are at in your life. And you end up feeling this friction back and forth to where you're wanting to do bigger and better things. You are trying to implement new things. You are wanting to consistently move forward, and you have that intensity to push forward. Well, at the end of the day, you are in control of the thermostat of your life. I want you to visualize this. Imagine you are standing in a room right now, and I can't take this. I got this from Ed Milet a while back, and I encourage you guys to read The Power of One More, the book that he has put out, and follow that man, because he has this like analogy of you're in control of the thermostat of your life, right? If you're standing in a room right now, like, and everyone likes a good 68 degrees, right? That's just normal. That is the brass tacks fundamental temperature of life, right? Well, you pushing towards your goals, whether it is internally, right? And this, I'll use things because a lot of times we talk a lot about like entrepreneurship, right? People on the outside, building your own businesses, doing bigger and better things, starting your own platforms, whatever it is, like that is your entrepreneurship lifestyle or drive to do things. Well, it might be internally too, on the aspect of entrepreneurship, right? Within the walls, right? I've had a lot of pushback and a lot of things that I've ultimately done with building out First Form Outdoors at First Form. Like as you are trying to push, right, move forward and have different ideas and implement different things, you are turning that thermostat up. That 68, 70 degrees that most people live in, you are now turning it up and say, no, I want to be at 80. I want to be at 90. I want to be at 110 fucking degrees in my life. I'm going to keep moving forward. And guess what? Everyone else inside of that room, like if they're not on board with doing that, you're asking everyone else to live in that temp, right? Not everyone likes to live in a lifestyle or live in a room of 110 degrees. It's hot. It's muggy. It's hard. Right? It makes it uncomfortable for a lot of other individuals. And you might be in a small town community. You see this a lot. And I've felt this coming from a smaller town community. You're trying to push and do bigger and better things, and people are trying to hold you back. Well, all they're trying to do is turn the thermostat down in your life. They're trying to turn the thermostat down on the things you are wanting to go out there and ultimately try and work towards and achieve. And that will happen externally in the entrepreneurship side of things. It'll happen intrapreneurially within your ecosystem and everyone inside of there. You cannot let other people have control of the thermostat of your life. It doesn't matter. Externally, internally, you are in control of that motherfucker, and you need to turn it up and consistently keep working to elevate the temperature of the room you stand in. And guess what? Ultimately, you're going to turn that temperature up. That new temp might be 80 degrees, becomes your new normal. Well, you end up starting, like you're in that room. The people who don't like that temperature ultimately end up leaving, right? They get away from that. They move on, and that might be those growing pains that you ultimately feel going throughout life. You might be losing different friends, and not necessarily losing. They might just exit the room because they don't want to live in that. Doesn't mean that they don't like you and they don't support you, but you're going to feel these pressures, right? Of like, you're turning that temperature up, right? Well, other people, as you consistently move forward, other people see that you're living in that kind of lifestyle or in that temp. Those people who want to be around that, who are involved in that kind of temperature, will come into that room. And I encourage you guys to live with that kind of mindset, because those people will enter your room, and then you start surrounding yourself by those other individuals who also want to turn the temp up in their life. And you might get it to where you're like, oh, this is getting hot. This is getting heavy. You need to be able to understand and realize that other people are also going to be pushing and pulling you. And just because people challenge you in different ways doesn't mean that they don't agree or don't see the vision that you ultimately have for your life. They might just be working to also rise the temperature of the room they stand in. You might be in that room, right? And you have to assess where you are at, assess the people you surround yourself with, assess your environment, right? And realize, is this the room that I want to be standing in? And you just have to be honest with yourself. It is all checks and balances, figuring out where you are at, what you are doing, the direction you are moving, and the life that you live in right now. What temp are you at? And are you able to turn that up? And you have to be okay with letting those other people exit that room and allow other people into that room, and encouraging that mindset to keep moving forward consistently. I got to take a drink here. Yeah, because you think about it. I want you really to think about that piece and look back at your life, because I can look at it. I can look at my life and I can visualize and see all those different moments where things I have done outside of First Form, when I had the gym, when we were going and growing, and just in that community and the pushback that we ultimately had, because us moving forward, it made other people feel like they were falling behind, or they didn't want to have to live up to that temp. Right? They didn't want to have to do the extra work. They didn't want to have to do the extra pressure. I'll throw it right back when I worked at Menards, DC up in Wisconsin. I knew there were people there that lived literally day to day, and this is where they were going to live and die. And ultimately that's what they wanted to do for the rest of their life, was ultimately stack pallets and do shit like that. And that's totally fine. Good on them. Great. But they would literally get upset when I would pick too fast or I would move. I'm like, no, I need to progress. I need to be able to push the limits in the role I am in. I'm going to be the best that I can be at this and consistently do better. And people would get pissed off and mad at me because I made them look bad. And that's not like me trying to toot my horn. Like, it made them have to work harder. It made them have to push further, right? And you're going to have a lot of the different, like, whether it's government jobs that are out there or just the regular 9-to-5s and any of these areas. And I'm sure you can relate to any job or position you are in. The second you go outside of what your regular duties or tasks are, other people get the pressure that they have to do more. They're not doing enough, and it makes them uncomfortable. That is you turning up the temperature in the room you stand in, right? You're coming in, you're applying that pressure, and you are either asking them to come along with you and buckle up, or they're going to remove themselves from that room. And that is okay as well, right? And sometimes it might be you having to leave that room and be like, hey, there's just too many motherfuckers in this room right now that want to live life at a 68 degree, and this is not where I'm ultimately meant to be. Or maybe you've maxed out the temperature of that room that you're ultimately standing in. It's understanding where you were at, what you were doing, and the value you have, right? This is like, you have to look at everything, and this is where you have to assess the life that you live and that you want to live, the goals and aspirations you have, because maybe you're standing in a room right now and you've maxed it out. You've pushed, you've given every single thing that you ultimately have had, and it just doesn't seem like the thermostat can go up anymore. It doesn't allow you to progress further than what you are. And really it is maxed out. That might be just the max of that room. And it might be the time where, okay, now you need to look at stepping into a new room that allows you to turn up the temperature and really elevate yourself even more, right? It's one of the things that I've had to assess and reassess over and over and over and over again in my life, from back when I was in Wisconsin, living up there, from whether it was working at Menards, managing Jimmy John's, like all these things. Like I've got much life before ever moving to St. Louis, but then even just being here within my role and the things that I do within First Form, and then creating First Form Outdoors and building that out and just creating a team around that. Like that team, like when I started the First Form Outdoors piece, it was ultimately putting a pressure out and around. And I'm not perfect by any means, but because I started doing something different, because I started looking at trying to elevate the temperature of that room that I lived in, people who also wanted to be inside of that environment and ultimately look at raising the temperature came out of the woodworks. That's where you get the Prestons, the Kayleys, the Stefans, the Lowe's, the Sierra, like all these people who are also in their roles day to day coming out of the woodworks to create something truly special and work to build something great. And that's just in the entrepreneur side of things, right? I have the podcast, my own personal brand, all this stuff. Like entrepreneurially, like I'm doing that, and I've learned myself, like I have this entrepreneur side. Like, just because I work with an organization doesn't mean I can't continue to keep growing, right? And maybe that's where you're at. Maybe you love your job 9 to 5 or whatever it is, and you're doing it and it pays the bills. That doesn't mean you can't do other things. Understand that as well. There was a point in time where I was worried about, like, well, if I start my podcast, what are people going to think about this? Hey, if I do Overdose Outdoors YouTube channel and this stuff, like, who gives a fuck, right? If I'm doing all those things and creating these other platforms and creating impact with all of you guys, like, at the end of the day, I'm worried about creating impact in the outdoor space. I firmly believe, like, inside of my gut and soul, and like when I lay my head down at night or I pray to God, like, what was I here for? What am I meant for? I'm meant to go out and create an impact. I know it. It's a burning piece inside of my gut and heart, and I don't know the end destination to any of that, but I know I want to be able to create a bigger impact in the outdoor space, to impact more and more lives, and generationally make sure that people are living a lifestyle that allows them to experience more, right? Get out there and experience more of their life. And if doing that causes any bit of ruffles or anything within an organization that I ultimately love and have worked tirelessly to go out and create a bigger impact in, well, that's too bad, right? We're going to keep moving forward no matter what. Because at the end of the day, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about the outdoorsmen out there. I'm worried about the hunters, the fishermen. I'm worried about the next generation coming up. I'm worried about the generation behind us. What kind of impact are we all able to go out and have? What kind of message are we sending to the next generation ultimately out there? What kind of message, and like, what are we doing as our generation? What are we doing to set and hold a higher standard for the individuals coming into the outdoor space? But then also, what kind of message, right, are we able to give to the generation before us? What kind of heritage can we ultimately leave behind? What can we do to ultimately commemorate all of the hard work, all the efforts, all the things that the men and women before us have ultimately busted their asses at, to make sure that we have the lands, we have the waters, we have everything out there to be able to go out and create these memories, these experiences, and leave a true legacy, right? So I want you to think about that. All of you have the ability. Like, social media is a great tool, right? It is a phenomenal tool. It is a hammer. I've said it before. It is a hammer that it can be used to build a beautiful home, your log home overlooking a valley, a lake, a river, whatever, mountain range, whatever you want it to be. You envision the life, the house, the land, ultimately everything you have. A hammer, like, that can build that, but that hammer can also destroy those things, right? And how you use social media, how you go out there and create an impact with it, the stories you tell, the experiences you share, that plays a role in all facets of what we will see moving forward in the outdoor space. So, and this is not like, yes, this podcast is dedicated towards the outdoorsmen, right? Hunting, fishing, hiking, camping does not matter. Like, we all share those same woods and waters. But overall, I would say it evolves more and more so into just being the best individual you could possibly be, to truly go out there and experience life to its absolute fullest, right? And just be the best friggin' human you can possibly be, right? Like, there's no reason as outdoorsmen and women that we eat our own, right? There's no reason that we bicker about what guns we shoot, what bows we shoot, all this different stuff, and the political bullshit stuff. It ultimately needs to just be gone, right? Like, we all love doing it. We all love sharing those same things together, right? And we might have different ways of going about it and all those things. We might poke fun here and there and just, be able to jaw-jock some individuals, just have some fun with it, right? But we have to look at it as like, is this being detrimental to the heritage that we are trying to build and solidify as we continue to move forward? Because I know when I hear people say like, oh man, the good old days are dead and gone, and we're never going to get those things back, that's wrong. I firmly believe like going out and like traditional deer camp and all these things, like, it is not dead and gone. It's just people have to step up and encourage other people to do those things. But that starts with us going first, us curating those lifestyles, us going out and connecting with people at trailheads, us bringing people out hunting for the first time, sharing those moments, creating those memories. That all comes down to each and every one of us going out and being the best we can be first, right? No government entity is going to go out and do it for us. No organization is going to do it for us. Yes, there's a lot of great organizations out there, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, NWTF, and any of these other platforms that are out there that are doing great conservational things, right? But that's the macro level. Like, at the micro level, it comes down to us as individuals, right? Pushing to be better versions of ourselves, better entrepreneurs, striving to be the best we can possibly be. And as you go through and push to be the best you can be, you are going to ruffle feathers. You are going to go through and turn up the temperature where most people and a lot of people in your life might not be ready for. And that's okay. That's really the whole purpose of this podcast was, as I reflect back all the greatest moments of my life or greatest moments of forward progression has always come at those times where the room needs to be turned up, right? And it comes where there is those adversities that ultimately hit and people try to either hold back or make it seem like there's no possible outlet to move forward. At the end of the day, solely you are in control of the thermostat of your life. If you turn your thermostat down, it's because you let someone else go through and tell you to turn it down. You have total control over the actions you take. I've said it before. Like you could get a flat tire today. You cannot control what happens to you today. You cannot control what happens tomorrow. You can't control what happens next week, next month, this coming year. But what you truly have control over is how you respond to each and everything that ultimately happens in your life. You have the mental capacity to choose between right and wrong. You have the mental capacity to be able to go out there and choose to be in a better mood today. You get to choose the actions you take. If you have a piss poor attitude, guess what? World is going to give you more piss poor actions. If you go out and you approach the day with a better mindset and this optimistic mindset, guess what? The world is going to give you more optimistic abilities. It's going to give you more opportunities. You have to see the world for what it can possibly be, not what has happened to you, right? And take it wholeheartedly for what it is and know that you have every single opportunity still in front of you. No matter what happened last week, yesterday, 2 minutes ago, you still have the opportunities that are right there in front of you. And the main piece of that is, how do you respond to what's happening right now? What actions do you go out and take? Because the actions you take today, the actions that you take off of anything that ever happens to you, is going to dictate the outcome you have tomorrow, the next day, the next week, the next month, year, any of it. All of it creates a ripple effect out. And if we can go out, you can go out, create a bigger ripple effect in your life and create that impact in your ecosystem, starting with your daily actions to the actions that happen within your environment, to your community, your household. It all starts with you. And that is really the brass tacks of the Experience More podcast, is go out there, live a lifestyle, allows you to experience more of the great outdoors with the family, the friends, experience more of life with those you love to experience it with. And those people that you love to experience it with might not be even in your life yet. But if you continue to keep moving forward and following that gut, that feeling inside of you, those people will come out of the woodworks and they will present themselves to you. And you will have more and more opportunities presented as long as you keep moving forward with a mindset that this world is full of opportunities and not just attacks against you. All right. So that being said, get out there and kick the shit out of this week. Go have a fun time. No matter what happens, look at, what can I do right now? All right. What happens today? What happens tomorrow? Doesn't matter. Go out, win the day, win the battle in between your ears, win the battle in your own mind, and make the decision to keep chasing your goals, your dreams, the aspirations you have in your life. I love each and every one of you guys. Let's make it a great week this week. If you get a chance, please go through, share this episode with a friend, family member, anything out there. If you got something from it, if you have questions or thoughts or comments, or if it made you think a little bit or go, fuck yeah, like drop it down into the comments within. I'd love it on the YouTube side. If you can go in there, I love different feedback on the YouTube episodes. Go through, give a review on the Spotify or Apple. It just helps us push the numbers up and ultimately working to create a bigger impact in the outdoor space. That's all I got for you guys this week. You're truly capable of a lot more than you give yourself credit for, and I fucking promise you that. So I love you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you for coming and sharing this time with me. We'll see you next week.